All right, so now that I've explained a little bit about the APA style and the relationship between the in-text citation and its connection to the entry on the reference page, let's talk briefly about your actual assignment, what you're going to be doing in Module 2 to create an APA style reference page. So let's begin in Module 2. You'll notice that you have two assignments regarding the APA reference page. The first is an activity that's going to allow you to practice building a reference page, and the second is the discussion board, which is going to give you an opportunity to talk about what you've learned about the APA reference page. So I'm going to start with the activity APA reference page, or building a reference page. That's where we're going to start. The next slide will be on that assignment. So stand by just a moment and let me set up the next slide. So when you click on the assignment, you'll see the information here in the right column of this slide. And there are several things that you'll see under assignment information. First of all is the due date, May 31st for this one at 11:59 p.m. The second is the resources. Anytime that there is a resource that you need to complete your assignment, it will show up here. You'll see the first highlight in yellow. It says a practice references doc or docs. This is a list of references, books, magazines, newspapers that represent those that you might use in your research. So what we're going to do is to start by placing those into the APA resource or reference page format. This just means that you don't have to go and find your own references yet. And it also probably worth mentioning that each one of them is a different type of research or resource. There is a newspaper article, a magazine article, there is a website, there is a scholarly journal, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment, and I'll show you where to tell what type of reference you have and what that means to you as you start working on your reference page. The next thing that I want to call your attention to here are the two boxes. I've highlighted Browse My Computer, and here's why. If you want to type directly into the assignment page, most students go down below this and find an open box marked comments, and they type or paste their response inside that box because it's already open. If you do that, when I receive your work, it's in a little bitty newspaper ad format where all your sentences get chopped off and restarted, and the punctuation and everything is crammed together, and it's very, very difficult for us in really small print, really difficult for me to read and understand what you were trying to say. So never use the comments box to submit your work. If you want to type or if you want to submit your work directly here, then you always click the Write Submission box. I didn't highlight it because even this is not the best choice. But if you click Write Submission, whatever you type I will get, and it will save the format. The best choice is Browse My Computer, and let me explain why. I strongly recommend that you save all of your work, do it in a Word file, and save it on your hard drive at home. That way, if there's ever any question about what happened to it, you have an access to a copy. You can resend it. And this happens many times every semester where students don't do that, and they think that they submitted it, but they clicked the wrong button and the submission didn't go through and I don't have it. If that happens, if I don't get it and you didn't save it, then you have no option but to go and do it again. So to avoid that, I strongly recommend that you do everything in a hard copy and save it on your computer, so if there's ever any discrepancy about what you sent or what I received, you can just go back and submit it again and not have to start over. I think those are the points that I wanted to make on this particular illustration. So now let's go, the next slide, we're going to open the practice references and I'll show you what they look like. All right, hold on just a minute. Okay, so this looks complicated, but don't let it overwhelm you. The left side of this slide is taken from the assignment. When you click on that link that says practice references that we highlighted in the previous slide, you're going to be given some practice references that that look just like these. In fact, I just copied them and pasted them here for you to see. The first thing that I'll call your attention to is the word book and magazine article, which are both highlighted in yellow. These words do not go into your reference page. They're only here to tell you that you should follow the guidance, the APA guidance for a book in the first one and for a magazine article in the second. If you remember earlier, we said a magazine is a form of a periodical, and so we're going to look for magazine article under the periodicals. Book, on the other hand, is easy to find. If you look just to the right section, this is a snippet from the Purdue Online Writing OWL, Online Writing Lab, the OWL. And so in the left list, you'll see reference list books. And then you'll see reference list other print sources. There we go. So we should find other print sources should be the source for the magazine article. And of course, books have very specific guidance. So now that you know you need to find a book and a magazine article, you need to go over and click on first the book. And when you do, it's going to give you very specific guidance in how all of this information should be lined up for an APA reference page. Next, we'll go and look for other print sources. We'll find periodicals, and then we'll see how this information should be lined up, and you'll be able to see the differences between the reference entry for a book and a magazine article. Okay. Cross your fingers and hope this works. I'm going to go to the next slide. So I was slightly mistaken. When I went to look for examples, I found the entry reference list, articles and periodicals. So I didn't have to go to print sources. Nonetheless, we have from our drop-down menu in the OWL, the reference list, articles and periodicals, and reference list books. And it's important that you know that every type of resource gets listed a little bit differently. So I clicked on books and I got this information that's on the right here, basic format for books. So you'll see the author's last name comes first, comma, and then we have the author's initials. Then we have the period between the initials, we have the parentheses, the year of the publication, we close the parentheses. APA format requires what we call the sentence format, and that is only the first word of the title and the first word of a subtitle, and any proper nouns are capitalized. So the subtitle always begins after a colon if it's included. And so here we'll see the title of the work. The T is capitalized, the O and the W are not. Then we have the colon, which signifies the beginning of the subtitle. Then we have capital, which is capitalized, and letter also for subtitle, which is not. So this is known as the sentence format. The first word of the title, the subtitle, and any proper nouns that happen to be in the title are capitalized. Everything else is lowercase. For a book, you'll notice that the title of the book is in italics, followed by a period, and then we have the location and the publisher. And the note just below says for location, you should always list the city and the state using the 2-letter postal code without the periods. And the example that they give you is New York, comma, NY. Those parentheses don't belong. That's just to show you that it's an example. And then just below that, you'll see a written example. You have two authors, Calfee, comma, R.C. comma, and with the and sign, not the word and, Valencia, comma, R period, parentheses, 1991 is the year of publication, another period, and then the title, APA is capitalized, Guide to Preparing Manuscripts for Journal Publication. There's no subtitle and there's no proper nouns other than APA, so nothing else is capitalized. And then we have the city and the state, Washington, comma, capital DC, no periods, with a colon, and the American Psychological Association, which is the publisher. So if you are trying to create an entry for a book, it should look just like these. Every period and every space is important. Then I went and clicked articles and periodicals, and I went down the list. After it opened up, I went down the list and I found two that are common. I think maybe you have one of each in your research. One is an article in a magazine and the other is an article in a newspaper. Again, you'll see the article starts, or the entry begins with the last name, comma, initials. Then we have the date of publication. In the magazine we have, and the newspaper, we have the year first, and then the month and the day. So you'll see 1990, comma, April 9. Close the parentheses and add a period. And we have the sentence format, but it is not in italics, right? Making the grade in today's schools, period. Making is capitalized. Then we have the title of the publication. We often call this the container. The container is a publication that contains the smaller work. In this case, it's Time Magazine, so you'll see we have only the title Time in parentheses, I'm sorry, not parentheses, but it's in italics. Followed by the page numbers. You see the 135, comma, 28 through 31, and what this says is that some of the information was found on page 135, and some of it was found between pages 28 and 31. So that's the format for an article in a magazine. Next, we have the article in the newspaper, and it gives you some background here, but I think probably the biggest change is the fact that we have to show what section of the newspaper the pages were. It's not a big issue when we're talking about small papers in Lafayette or Ringgold or Floyd County or Somerville, but when we talk about the New York Times, the New York papers, San Francisco, Chicago newspapers, the Atlanta Journal and Constitution for that matter, the sections make a difference. And so again, you'll see we start with the author's name, last name, first initial. Again, we have the year of publication and then the month and day in parentheses, the period. The title of the article, Calls Made to Strengthen State Energy Policies. Again, the sentence format, only the first word of the title, the subtitle, and any proper nouns are capitalized. So here we have only one capitalized word. Then we have the name of the container, the paper, the country today in italics. And then we have pages, PP, for more than one page. And then we have 1A, comma, 2A. So this appeared in two different places, and we have to put both page number and section number. Listen, I know this is a lot of information to take in. You may have to review this more than once. You can pause it and look at what I've got, lower it on your screen, look at your assignment. But there's nothing magic about this. The only thing you have to do is make sure you know what type of reference you're looking for and make sure that you followed that example to the letter. And it's that easy to build an APA reference page. And presto, bingo, here is your final product. These are two separate entries. One of them is for the magazine article, and the other is, the bottom is for the book. Doesn't matter if it's a magazine article or a book or whatnot. Every entry is always alphabetized according to the author's last name. I do see students who try to change, for example, byte and hacker so that byte comes first. That's a no-no. The order in which the authors are given to us is very important. The first author listed is the one who did the most work. The second author was a major contributor. A third author contributes a little less. A fourth author contributes a little less, and so on and so forth. So don't fall into the trap of trying to move the authors around. Alphabetize by the first author's name. So here, hacker comes before money, right? H before M. So we see hacker, JT. The and sign is always important. The second author is byte, BL. Then we have the date and the parentheses, 2010, comma, and the month is all it was given us. It's not, didn't have a day. The title in sentence form, a computer can save your life. There is no subtitle and there are no proper nouns, so only the first word is capitalized. Then we have the title or the name of the container, today's computers, and the page numbers 10 through 11 and page 16. For the book, we also begin with the author's last name and the initials, the date of publication, only the year for a book. Then the title is always italicized for a book, and so we have all that glitters is gold, colon, then the subtitle, earning the big bucks. So we have a title and a subtitle, so we have two words that are capitalized. Then we have the period, the city and the state of publication, the colon, and the name of the publishing company. Boom! So it's that easy to create a reference page. Your task, I think there are 6 or 7 overall. I've given you 2 examples, so you only have 4 or 5 others. Be sure to include hacker and money on your reference page, though. Make sure that it is complete. So do the others. Figure out what type of resource you're looking at. Go to the OWL, look for the examples under that particular resource, and then use those examples to make yours look just like theirs. Okay, this has been a lot of fun. This is a great tool. I like this video explanation here. Short of being in class, I think this is good. Sure, some of you will probably still have some questions about this, but that's okay. I think this is a great way to reach everybody at once and kind of narrow down the difficulty level of the assignment. So go make yourselves an APA reference page. Well, not really make yourself one. I don't want you to become an APA reference page. I just mean go and like create an APA reference page. But you guys knew that, right? Okay.